Hey y'all, welcome to the filling station. It has been an interesting day in the market. Let me say that, right? So before we get started, let me go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth, and the stock market is just one of those avenues. This video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, y'all, let's get started. So we are looking at the VIX here on this 30-minute chart, and during pre-market, we marked this level here of 119.21, I think is the top of the candle. And I remember saying that it wouldn't surprise me, 1920, if the VIX came back to retest this area, which will in turn bring the SPY to the downside. When the VIX normally goes up, the SPY normally comes down. So now let's go look at the SPY, because the VIX hit this 1946, which again, it did not surprise me once we tested this on Friday to come back to this area, only to, break a little bit past that area. So looking at the SPY was very interesting because it started breaking out of the gathering spot this morning pre-market, and as soon as it started breaking out, it hit trouble right here, which is a 200 EMA on the 30-minute chart. I didn't understand why it was breaking out. We didn't have news or anything like that, and that was a red flag for me that I needed to definitely watch the SPY. Well, we got this hanging man candle right off of rejection, so I always say buy off rejection. This will be one of those examples to buy off of the rejection. And if you look down here, the MACD gave us a signal also. So if we would have bought off of this rejection, which is the 200 EMA on this 30-minute chart, we could have entered the trade around here. It made lower lows, 1, 2, 3, and this again is a 30-minute chart. We'll go look at it on the 5-minute chart so you can see it a little bit clearer. And the 5 and 50 cross. So we had some confirmations that, we could have traded the SPY to the downside. The high of this candle was 515.30. The high of this candle was 515.33. So that kind of gave us a general idea that we could very well, come back to the downside. What's interesting is I guess nobody thought that the SPY was going to come down to 503.58 from 515.30, 515.33 all the way down to 503.58. That was a big decline to the downside. So if you were able to trade the SPY today, that would have been a really, really nice trade to the downside. Again, we had created a gathering spot here, so our 5 and 50 did cross here to the downside, so we could have entered the trade here and just rode the 5, right? And just, it would have been interesting. This area right here, I would have definitely been out, but you could have gotten back in and just rode this all the way down, because most of the candles stayed under the 5 EMA. Again, nobody knew that, or we didn't know, let's say that the price was going to go down to the 503.58. So the SPY was a very interesting trade today. If you were able to take that, congratulations. That's an awesome, profitable day. Let's say that. Listen, what we saw on the daily chart, I had to think about it. Yeah, what we saw on the daily chart, I think I said earlier, it wouldn't, our support was here at this ATR trailing stop, which was right at the 50 EMA. We could have came here and found support, but we fell through that area. So the concern for the SPY at this point is we are in gap fill territory, is what I like to say, right? So there was a gap that was created on 222, starting at the 503.02 area all the way down to the 497.37. Is the SPY going to fill this gap, or are we going to take this and bounce off of here and go back to the upside? Again, I always say trade what you see, follow your charts, and make sure you have other confirmations as to what, what's going on, trying to put the picture together. But again, I'm going to say this, it wouldn't surprise me if we came down to fill this gap here. If we break this area of support, which is at the 497.37, keep in mind, the 200 EMA is all the way down here at the 470 range, 470.94. And if you look at the SPY on a bigger time frame, we see the SPY has been trending since October of last year. It's time for a pullback, in my opinion. Let me say that. So if you have been trading the SPY, it's about time for us to come back and do some type of, pull back just a little bit so that we can continue to the upside. Again, that's my opinion. So the next one we're going to look at is Tesla. Tesla is Tesla. That's all I can say about that one. So, looking at Tesla on this 5 minute chart, if you bought Tesla at the open when it hit this 170, that was an awesome trade. Really, really nice trade. It consolidated right before pre market. It broke out of that consolidation. 5 and the 50 crossed at the open right at 9:30. If you entered this trade to the downside, that would have been a nice trade. Now, what I didn't like is this sideways movement here, only to, we got a signal back to the upside. But again, this is another area of buying off of rejection here. So it came up, it tried to, break past this VWAP. It was above the 5 EMA, which was good. All of this, area here is support, or was support. At the time, it was resistance. It broke through resistance and it became our support area. So now, this area here is one, okay, I'm going to watch it. It's creating a gathering spot for me. So I wouldn't get into Tesla until it broke out of this area. So we start making lower lows here to the downside. Okay, our MACD is giving us a signal. Okay, I think that would have been a decent trade to the downside, to trade Tesla to the downside. And as you can see, we kind of stayed under the 5 EMA. And it did a lot of consolidating or creating gathering spots, is what I like to say. I guess nobody anticipated Tesla going from 170.69 all the way down to the 160 area, which it didn't surprise me that it came back to this 160.51. I had that as strong support. Now, the concern for Tesla is this. Tesla is too at an area of gap fill. I always say gap fill territory. There was a gap that was created on 126 from at the 155.48 area all the way down to the 146.41. So if Tesla breaks this 160.51, we could very well come down and fill this gap, which is at the 155 to the 146. So that's something to be mindful of. If you trade Tesla, I always say, y'all trade what you see. Allow your charts to allow your charts to lead you and guide you in your decision making. Let's say that. So again, this is Tesla, looking at it on the 30-minute time frame. This was the gathering spot that we created this morning. Soon as it broke out of that would have been an entry. Even if you're looking at it on this 30-minute, that would have been our entry. And as you can see, looking at this 30-minute time frame, it stayed under the 5 EMA. So if you use the 5 minute, you can also try to go to the the 30-minute to help you stay in your trades a little bit longer. If you're like me, you're a scalper, I'm in I'm in and out. Let me say that. But again, it's what works for you, and that's what trading is all about, coming up with a plan that works for you. So Tesla was a very good trade today, let's say that. And Marvell is one that was an inside day, and it actually reached the target to the downside. That's why it's really important to pay attention to your inside day candles, and it kind of gives you a target of support and or resistance, right? So it broke through this level of support at 69.90, and the target was at 68.56, and it fell below that. So that was a good trade if you marked your levels and entered that trade. Nvidia was also an inside day for today, and again it broke past the 875.30 to come down and break through the target, which was at 869.26. So Nvidia is down here at a 855. It's aftermarket here, 855.85. That's something to be mindful of. It closed at 860.01. Tomorrow is definitely going to be a very interesting day. Let me say that. So AMD, looking at it on this 30-minute chart, it gave us, it traded in this gathering spot here. It had a nice sell-off around 9:30. So if you got in this at it, the high of the candle is at 164.44. The low of this candle is 159.31. And again, if you got in at the right time and out at the right time, it could have been a decent trade. I normally don't like this, how the MACD is and how the candles are just bunched together. I don't like that. So I'll wait on it to give me a clear signal as to entering and exiting my trades. I would have liked to take this to the downside right here, all the way down to this trade. This would have been a nice trade for me. So again, I don't take every trade. I try to make sure that whatever trade I take, it is a decent trade, or I look to see it as a profitable trade. Let me say that. So yeah, today has been a very, very interesting day. I would say definitely tomorrow, don't rush into your trades, and don't think that just because the SPY has had a nice sell-off today that it cannot continue to the downside. Again, we are in gap fill territory, meaning we could very well continue to the downside, y'all. So again, it's been a great day in the market. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that you've learned something today, or you've made it a very profitable day. Let me say that. So y'all, thank you again. I'm super excited. Let me say that. I'm just really, really excited. Today's been a great day. I want to leave you with this, y'all. Be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.